At 8 o'clock, we got the game I'm most excited about. Let's go. Penn State, which went 7-6 last year, traveling to Purdue, which went 9-4 last year. Penn State favored by 3 points on Fox. And I understand what you're thinking. Penn State went 7-6 last year. Why are you excited about this game? Like, it should be pretty bad. Penn State's obviously was bad last year. They went 7-6. And Purdue's obviously good because they went 9-4. Don't let the stats fool you how badly Penn State's season last year went. It went downhill rather quickly. But don't forget, this is a team that started 4 or 5-0. Like, this is a team that was deep into the top 5 at the beginning of the year. And the season was really thrown, the wrench was really thrown into the season, the Iowa game. The Iowa game, in my opinion, was the turning point for Penn State because they were undefeated heading into the matchup. So was Iowa. And it was in Iowa City. But unfortunately, Penn State had a significant lead at halftime. But they lose Sean Clifford in the first half, their starting quarterback. And Sean Clifford is, in my opinion, the reason why they lost that football game. You bring in Taquan Roberson, and he gets really nothing going on offense. He throws a lot of interceptions. And it's just Taquan Roberson obviously was not the guy. And they ended up losing that game in large part because Taquan Roberson saw the field. Then you look at the season goes on. Having a bad backup in Taquan Roberson forces Sean Clifford to have to start through a bad injury against Illinois, which they lose. And then they lose the Ohio State game. And by that point, their confidence is just shot. They lose a heartbreaker to Michigan and then a heartbreaker to Michigan State. And then they lose their bowl game. I don't put a lot on losing the bowl game. A lot of players opted out on the defensive side of the ball. And it was a lot of new people. Don't believe Jahan Dotson played in that game either. And it was a weird season. It was a weird season for Penn State, a season that started out so promising and was really destroyed by injuries. But this is a brand new season for Penn State. They have an actual favorable schedule, in my opinion. It's definitely the better schedule I've seen so far. You draw Purdue, Northwestern, and Minnesota from the other side, which you could have drawn a lot worse. Iowa, no Wisconsin. So that's great. Minnesota and Purdue obviously are real ones to worry about that. Sean Clifford last year went 261 for 428, threw for 3,107 yards, had 21 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, and had a 61% completion percentage. Their running game was bad last year. There's no other way to put it. Tavon Lee's their leading returning rusher, but they have 2 freshmen that they're excited about. He had 108 carries for 530 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Parker Washington's their leading returning receiver, which, considering that you had a first-round pick in Jahan Dotson, I did not expect this, but Parker Washington actually last year had 64 catches for 820 yards and 4 touchdowns. Not to mention they bring in the Western Kentucky receiver transfer, who also had a lot of yards with Bailey Zappi as their quarterback. I think this is possibly being a really good game, too, because Purdue's a good team as well. Aiden O'Connell last year went 315, a 440. Threw for 3,712 yards, 28 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, and had a 71.6% completion percentage. Don't forget, Purdue is also the team that's known for upsets. They upset 2 good teams last year in Iowa and Michigan State. 2 teams that heading into the Purdue game thought that was going to be a walk in the park. So that was just really kind of interesting on Purdue's part. Unfortunately, they didn't get the upset over Ohio State. That would have been really awesome to complete the trifecta, but they did not do that. King Doru, the running back, had 135 carries for 533 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And Payne Durham, their leading returning receiver, had 45 catches for 467 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now, I'm sure you're wondering how these teams done against each other in the past. Penn State has won 15 of the last 18 matchups. They've won 9 straight. The last matchup was in 2019. Purdue's last victory was in 2004, so I was 1 year old when last time Purdue actually won this matchup. So that's kind of depressing if you're Purdue. But I think this is possibly being a really great game. I'm so excited to watch it as a Penn State fan. I really think that Penn State probably wins this one. Still only a 3-point game. I think Penn State wins it by more than 3, though.